Good evening from the garden and welcome to another harvest video. It's mid-July now and it's been about 6 weeks since we filmed our last harvest video. So obviously what we're harvesting now is very different from the produce we were harvesting then, and it's definitely time for an update. First, let me start by saying that the garden has been having a bit of a rough time because of a combination of two things. One of them is the extreme drought that we've been experiencing. It's been the second driest summer so far in over 100 years. And the second thing is that I've been working hard on finishing my manuscript for my book on permaculture gardening, which will be published in February 2019 by Permanent Publishing. Of course, it's a little absurd that I'm neglecting my own garden because I'm writing about gardening, but the very thing that I'm writing about, the permaculture approach to gardening, is also what is helping our garden to survive this time. If you have any questions about my book, please leave them in the comments, but now let's get on with the harvesting. Apart from tomatoes, the most exciting crop of the moment are probably new potatoes. In our community garden, harvesting potatoes is one of the most popular jobs and people fight over it, but in my own garden I'm the one doing it. The variety that we're growing this year is called Gourmandine. It's a French variety and we've already harvested the first row. And so far I'm really pleased with the results. But let's have a look at this plant. Not bad, not bad. Gourmandine is a modern variety. It was introduced in 2002 and it has a waxy texture. We have already tasted it and it's really good. It's also quite versatile, so you can prepare it in different ways. We've only cooked it lightly because the taste is really good, so it does not need much. And I also think that the productivity is quite good. It's a 90-day potato and I pre-sprouted my potatoes and I planted them almost exactly 90 days ago. I looked at a French website about Gourmandine and they said that if you want to keep it, then it's better to leave it in the ground for 120 days. So I think I'll do it with some of my plants, but I will harvest some of them early. In this bed over here I have more root crops. Beetroot over here. We have two varieties, a red one, a regular red one, and the beautiful Italian heirloom di Chioggia, which has stripes inside. It's also slightly lighter on the outside. And the nice thing about growing your own beetroot is that when you have them fresh, oh look at this, nice tubers. The leaves are also really good to eat for stir frying, and I'm gonna use those too. Next to the beets I have my carrots, and this year I decided to keep them under insect netting the whole time to prevent carrot fly attacks, because no matter what I try we always get some carrot fly damage. So I thought this would work really well. And it has worked against carrot fly, but we've been experiencing some other problems. Voles, most probably voles. And I think that we have not had that much damage before, even though we've always had voles in the garden. And I think that it's thanks to the insect netting, because voles do not like open spaces, but apparently they're pretty happy under the cover and they've really been eating lots of the roots. So I'll be harvesting what's left. Oh, here's one. Here's one that left for us. This one is really good. I'll be harvesting what's left and I don't know, maybe I'll take off the netting. But there are some good carrots still and they're really tasty. Here's another crop that has been under the attack from the voles. It's my brassicas, kohlrabi and broccoli, and they have also been covered with insect netting, which seems really to encourage the voles to eat the plants. Luckily in the kohlrabi it seems they eat the leaves and they do not touch the tubers. Now, what is it? Tubers? The roots. Kohlrabi is a vegetable that's very popular in the Czech Republic where I come from, but it's not so much grown in the Netherlands. You can cook with it, but we prefer to eat it raw. So I just peel it and slice it, and it's really nice and crunchy. This is a variety called Korist, and some of the varieties can get woody when they are older, but this one stays really nice and tender. In the same bed as the brassicas, we also have some outdoor tomatoes. We are growing tomatoes in the greenhouse, which we have filmed a video about last week. But here we have an early bush variety called number 42. It started ripening very early, but it's also already displaying some signs of disease. But we also have 5 plants of another unknown, as yet unnamed variety. It's seeds that I got from my friend Peter Bouwens, a Belgian grower who has a very nice seed company called the Nieuwe Tuin. And this is their own selection, which they're trialing now, and they have sent the seeds to several people to try out, especially when it comes to disease resistance. Because of the dry weather that we've had so far, the plants, partially because of that, the plants are not affected by blight at all. They're really healthy, but we'll see how they do the rest of the season. And they're just beginning to ripen now. I'm going to pick more tomatoes here in the greenhouse and also some gherkins and basil. But there's one more thing I want to show you, and that's our garlic harvest. Last year in November we filmed a video about planting 7 different varieties of garlic. It was a little trial to see what varieties would do best for us, and there's been a really huge difference in the results. The ones that did best were Anton, that's this one, and Morado, this one, and then the 3rd place goes to North number 3. But as you can see, the bulbs are not huge. The plants were really badly affected with rust. But I also grew a few in the greenhouse, and those are the largest bulbs that we got. I really think that I'll be doing more of this this fall, that maybe I will plant all of my garlic in the greenhouse. It's also very easy to plant other crops in between the garlic if I plant it well, and the garlic really seems to do much better undercover here in our climate. There are so many tomatoes ripening every day. It's my kid's dream. And it's my son's turn to cook tomorrow. He said he wanted to make pasta with tomatoes and pesto, so I'll be picking some basil for that too. It's really nice to have all these different tomatoes. I also want to pick some courgettes, which we're growing in the food forest part of our garden. Summer and winter squash take up a lot of space, which is why we're not growing them in our vegetable beds, but at this moment under our fruit trees, before the space here will be filled with perennial herbs and perennial vegetables. The variety of courgette that I'm growing this year is called Romanesco, and I must say I really like it. It's even my very favorite so far from the varieties that I've tried. It's striped, so it's really pretty. But the best thing about it is that it tastes good even if it's larger. It does not become watery. Usually I like to pick my courgettes smaller, but even at this size the Romanesco is really good. July is also a good time to pick some herbs for drying for the winter, because now they're at their best, they're full of aromatic oils. And I'm picking here a bunch of Moroccan mint. It's one of our favorite varieties of mint for tea. It's also a great companion plant for fruit trees, which is why I have it growing here under the apple tree. It attracts pollinators. It's one of its functions in the polycultures. The last thing I want to show you today is our peach, our one peach. I have this tree here, the variety is called Avalon Pride, and I planted it last year in March. And the reason I chose this variety is because of its disease resistance. Because in our climate, peaches are quite difficult to grow. Normally, not now, but normally we live in a wet climate, and that's not really good for peaches. But this tree is really healthy. We have had no trouble with disease at all. But some people say that the taste is less good in disease-resistant varieties, so I guess we'll find out. I expect anyway that sun-ripened peach will be better than a store-bought peach, even if this is not the best variety ever. But I have to take it home and we'll share it. I'll share it with my kids and my husband. We'll all get a taste. Our first peach ever. So that was today's harvest. My basket is quite heavy by now, and I think this should see us through a few days. I hope you enjoyed this harvest video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you again next time. Happy gardening!